Grand Rising, Kings, Queens, Gods, Goddesses, multi-exclusive dimensional being God with another exclusive. Today's video is going to be about depression. What is depression? Because, we all went through or experienced depression to the highest to the lowest. But off rip, what is this thing? Because at the end of the day, depression is a spirit. It's no thing, but it's something that we basically inherited, something that we go through. Not everybody though, but certain people is going through this shit right now as far as spiritual warfare and all the negativity and all the vibrations that they're going into and seeking. So it's up to us, and it's up to us all to figure out whether or not are we going to stay in this routine pattern, or are we going to shapeshift and take power and control and destroy what's harming us or coming after us? Because at the end of the day, what is depression? See, depression is as you can see, it's already telling you from the beginning. Deep depression. Deep, that means when you're deeply rooted into something. So off rip, we get deeply rooted into thoughts, feelings, and emotions, ideas, currents, circumstances, situations, people, places, and things. Also residues, also certain kind of energies. And as you can know this, energy is powerful. Attention goes with energy. Attention goes with energy flows. So of course, whatever we also paying attention to, depending on how much energy and how much attention was given to it, whether it was positive energy or negative energy, these are the circumstance situations that it play out into. Almost to the point it narrows down and it applies a whole lot of pressure too. Because when something gets heavy and something gets big in weight, it gets deep. So of course, that's adding more weight to it. And feel me? And these are the repercussions that we all experience. So it goes on a deeper and broader level, because at the end of the day, this shit causes recessions too. Especially if something is not up to date, is not running efficiently, of course it's gonna go through some kind of detriment, or it's gonna get terminated. So it's very important to make sure that when we do things, we always question things before we get deeply rooted into it. Because at the end of the day, we are in control of this shit. Nobody else. We got 3 spiritual powers. We got creativity, belief, and imagination. And whatever we create is through our belief. And of course, if we ain't got an imagination, how we gonna believe into something? Now, take this into consideration now. The energy that you're giving to somebody outside of you, you want they shit to grow. So take this into consideration. You rich already in spirit and soul. The moment you came down here, you forgot every single thing. You got lost into structure. You got lost into the world, period. You ain't had time to fixate your imagination. You ain't had the time to get right with yourself. You ain't had time to study things. You was just living your life as a child. The moment you grew up, you got into daycare. You got into school. You got into kindergarten. You got into pre-K. You went through all these transformations. The mom and dad had to work. They had to pay the bills. They had to work hard. They didn't really have time for you. They didn't have time for themselves too. And depending on before you even came into this existence, depending on what kind of mind state and frame your parents was in, that's what's going to create your reality too. That's what's going to put you into existence. Because it's one thing, the way we think is also, remember, we don't see our thoughts depending on what kind of vibration and level we in. Sometimes it's clear, sometimes we have clarity, sometimes we don't have clarity, depending on how much shit is on our mind. When you got a lot of weight on your mind, things get a little foggy. You can't really see. You don't have clarity. Feel me? You got a whole lot of shit attached to yourself. And what happens when you have too much weight on yourself? That's fire. You're already the fire. You're already putting out the water with all these mixed feelings and emotions and ideas and concepts. Because remember, the heavier it is, the more dense it becomes, the more it gets rained down. So what you're doing down here is basically what you're doing up there. So remember, the higher you go, the quicker shit manifests. The lower you are, the more it takes time. So if you're giving a whole lot of time and attention and details to low vibrational shit, dealing with depression, things get crazy, things get out of control. That's why it's important to know that the power is within you. The moment you get lost into somebody else's imagination, somebody else's dream, somebody else's goal, somebody else's success, somebody else's predicament, somebody else's circumferences, somebody else's way of how the world goes. That's the moment you fuck up because you're believing in that shit. You're not taking power or control over your life, over your possession. You're being possessed. And depression is a motherfucking possession. It is. Because remember, your thoughts are not yours. Your feelings, emotions are not yours. Take this into consideration. You're feeling good. And remember, look at it like this. You watch TV and you watch certain movies. You start to pick up certain vibes and certain feelings and emotions. And remember, this is your first time watching this shit. You wasn't feeling like this before. Instead of when you started to get deeply into it. And when you get deeply into something, when something starts fucking with you, you're picking up something. Remember, you picked it up. That wasn't something that was inside of you already telling you, oh, don't watch this, don't look at this. Feel me? You picked up an experience. You picked up a ghost. So basically, you swallowed it, you digested, you ate it. So it's now resonating with you. It's an experience. And the more experiences you have, the more awareness you have. And basically, when you have a whole lot of awareness and when you're in control of your awareness and when you dictate your awareness, that's when things get better too. And it goes deep too. Almost to the point that if you got a 9 to 5 or you work, you're always depressed there because every time you go there, you don't want to be there. And that's your spirit telling you to get the fuck up out of there. Quit that shit. Find something better. Find something better and more suitable for you to do. And also too, depending on what kind of circumstance situation you're in, you got kids, you got bills and all this shit. That's the thing. You're so focused on the job in front of you, you're not trying to come up with concepts and things in your mind to create other circumstances, situations to put you in a better predicament. Because remember, your imagination is what created you to put you on this motherfucking planet. And whatever your parents was going through, fuck what they was going through. It's about what you're going to do. Are you going to break the generational curse, or are you going to allow what your parents was doing before your awake life to come and try to take shape and form into your life? And now that's when shit gets serious. And that's when we're talking about spiritual warfare. Because off rip, you got to understand and understand this shit. The moment you and your pops, your mother and your father came together to create an energy, which is the sex energy is very powerful. That's how we create things in life. Sex is important. Make sure you're doing it right too. This way you ain't manifesting no motherfucking bullshit. So the moment you and your parents got into it, for me, that's when you got birthed out. Understand, overstand. Now you in your mother's womb. You in her moon. The moon is the feelings and emotions. Feel me? The masculine is basically dealing with the father. Now, take this into consideration. Once you left your pops, feel me? You got out of that circumstance situation. Because remember, your pops can't hold you in for 9 months. That shit gonna come out regardless. Now, when you go on your mom's, you on your mom's for 9 months. So you carrying and you picking up a whole lot of weight and a whole lot of baggages, depending on how your mom is vibrating. Now, when the shit gets heavier, remember, you was birthed through your mom. So whenever you come out of your mom's, now you inhaling that shit. So basically, you're picking up a whole lot of shit now, and you're carrying shit with you. Because remember, you just came out your mom's. So you're picking up all these frequencies, vibrations, and energies. Feel me? Now you're a powerful child. You're aware of everything. So you're just picking up a whole lot of shit now. Like, that's what you're going to be fighting, is your mother demons. So whatever was on her mind and shit, whatever state of being, a state of awareness she was in, that's what you're picking up now. Feel me? Because if she goes, you go. Remember that shit. She has to be alive in order for you to actually come out of her stomach, so you can be able to basically have your own, because that's third dimension. Feel me? And when it goes up on there in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension, that's basically like a higher realm. That's like a higher vessel. And when we talking about depression, feel me, it's different. Feel me? And remember, your spirit always gonna remind you and tell you to get out of a circumstance situation. So the moment you stay into a stuck routine pattern, that's when things gonna get worse. So the load is going to get heavier. And when things get heavier, things get out of control. Things get very chaotic, get very catastrophic. And remember, you're being possessed at all times the moment you agree to the terms and conditions of being depressed. Because depression goes deep too. Feel me? Take this into consideration. Look at it like this. You was listening to somebody your whole fucking life, and basically You was supposed to create your own shit. You have your own imagination. You your own spirit in the body. You supposed to see how things are supposed to flow for you. The moment you allow somebody to control you, almost to the point you grown as fuck now, and you just work your whole life, you ain't like come up with no constructs on try to how to get out of that mental paradigm. Things got fucked up now. So of course you picking up a whole lot of regret, a whole lot of guilt, a whole lot of shit. Feel me? To the point you took that to the grave with you. Now when you die, you're gonna be experiencing all of that shit. Remember that shit too. You're taking that shit with you. And remember, if your heart is heavier than a feather, you're coming back here in some way, shape, or form. Or if you do ascend in some way, shape, or form, you might get lucky. 9 times, 10 times out of 10, you're not always lucky. So you're carrying that into your next life. So you're gonna be birthed into the same family that you was born in previously when you died, before you died. So now you gotta basically pick up where you started, because what you're doing now is what you was doing in your past life. So if you don't change what you're doing now, if you don't lighten the load and create things that are basically what you want to be fixated in, take this into consideration. You're rich in spirit and soul already. Now you in the world, you're young, feel me? You got a big mind, you got a big imagination. Now, all you thinking about is manifestations, all you thinking about is getting that bag, all you thinking about is being rich already. Simple, feel me? And now you added so much to that plate, to the point that you will actually get what you want, and you will get what you deserve, feel me? Because you was putting in a whole lot of work on positive spectrums. You wasn't thinking negative, and you was basically in a harmonious vibration energy, and you wasn't in no harmful circumstance situation to where you harmed your spirit, you harm your ideas, you harm your concepts. You ain't harnessed, but you harmed yourself. But now when you're harnessing this shit, that means you're gravitating the attention and the stars and the planets towards you. You want the world to see you. You want the universe to see you. You want your higher self to work with you, basically, because you are your higher self. Basically, you do know that shit. Because we got the spiritual realm, we got the subconscious realm, and we got the conscious realm, which is basically this realm. Shit, that's what you can see with your 2 eyes. That's the energy spectrum. That's the death stage. So remember that shit. Now look, when you do leave this existence, even if you didn't get a chance to basically have time to create what you wanted to manifest, but you always had it on your mind, heart, and body and soul that you want to be rich and manifest and be in a circumstance situation of being established, right? Cool. What's gonna happen is you're gonna be born into a family, a rich family at that too, because basically that's what you're gravitating towards. Remember, attention goes where energy flows. So if you're putting your mind state and your frame into a circumstance, situation, a bubble, a concept, a wave, a current, a rotation, you gotta put yourself in the vibration of being in a rich family. So boom, you're in a rich family now. What happens? You get birthed out through there because the rich family decide to have a child. They rich, for me, everything is gravy. Now, you got to fight for space. Basically, you got to gravitate towards. You got to really want this shit. For me, that's why it's very important to be consistent on what you want to basically create in life. Because remember, it can come down to you, or you can be birthed into it, or it could just basically fall into your arms. Remember, somebody else's trash is somebody else's trash, and somebody else's treasure is somebody else's treasure. So remember that shit. So when somebody do leave this existence, it got to be passed on. Energy can never be destroyed. It can only be reciprocated. So if energy is being reciprocated towards somebody else, that's what's going to happen. So almost to the point to the doors you touch or circumstance, situations, the people, places, things you interact with. So Rip, the way you kill depression is, 1, talking to yourself. Talk more to yourself. Feel me? Go in the mirror. Feel me? Close that door. Look yourself into the mirror. Talk to yourself. Speak good words to yourself. Go outside. Feel me? Go talk to the heavens. Go talk to the skies. Like, do something like harmonious that's going to play out into your spectrum. Do something you love doing. Play harmonious music. Play some 432 hertz. Get right with your spirit. Meditate. Go within. Feel me? Try to dish off all that negative shit. Question these thoughts, feelings, and emotions and ideas of depression that you're receiving. Remember that shit. This is not true. Remember, it was ghosts and bodies. It was people, places, and things here before you came into existence. So these are like ancestors, these are ghosts, or these could be spirit guides, or these can be demons. So now take this into consideration. These motherfuckers see that you're in the same circumstance situation. Now you're attaching them towards you to the point they can be either your child or your worst motherfucking enemy. So take that into consideration before you agree to the terms and conditions of, oh, you're depressed. Remember, you ain't depressed. You're experiencing somebody else's shit.